Hey everybody, welcome to High Viz Health. I am your host, Dr. Yudo, and one of your favorite guests of all time is back in the house. His name is Tunde, the one and only. How many Tundes do you know? Probably one, all right? And he is a star here once again on High Viz Health. Tunde, give the people just a quick background, and within that background, talk about the business a little bit, OGF.
So background wise, athlete, high school, college, played a little bit of pro ball, currently a professional firefighter. Training came about as my off-season job when I was playing ball. I've started off at the bottom, started off as a trainer, been a fitness director at a couple of gyms. Within the last 2 years, I started my own brand, Optimus Grind Fitness. Started off as an online training company, grew into a private personal training company, and now it's expanded into nutrition and supplements as well.
And some badass gear.
The gear, honestly, is...
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry if nobody can see us because Tunde's fucking arms are in the way. Sorry about that. Camera lens can only catch so much.
You're right. Or that these lights aren't bright enough that I show. So, the gear is cool, man. It's just really just an extension of the brand, just to kind of get brand awareness, advertisement out.
It's cool, man. You do such a good job with the social media too. You guys have OGF training. I don't want to call it training teams, but you guys compete. Like OGF has teams in these. Are they strongman competitions?
I'm a tip top shape. They in tick tock shape. I'ma fix my. You know the drill.
So OGF as a whole, man, it's community. I was really big on when I was going to put something together. I wanted to keep the team component. I've been a part of a team since I was 6 years old. That's all I know. Even now, my professional career as a firefighter, we're essentially a team. So when I put something together, right, I wanted to create that team atmosphere. So I do have athletes where we'll come together every once in a while and get in these open, I guess they are strongman lifting competitions.
Yeah. Some of it's very functional, I see.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, depending on whatever events they're going to have, we've got people that are very proficient in all aspects of fitness. And so it makes us a pretty complete team,
Hey, last thing, since we're talking about how much you love competition, I don't know what league this is, but I see it on the social media. You guys are like nationally on the board in this football league. What is the league?
So I play for the RVA Tomahawks, which is a semi-pro team. We currently just finished playing in the Coastal Football Alliance, which is an East Coast generated league where we won the league championship there. Okay. And the last 3 seasons, we've been to the national championship.
Damn.
1 for a bowl and then 2 for national championships. So, yeah, I mean, it's semi-pro, but it's at the highest level.
I'm looking at some of the game film out here, and you're like, well, you played D1, you played D1, you played D. Yeah. Like, these are really good athletes out on the field, man.
Yeah, you've got some talented guys. I mean, at the end of the day, you're playing for the love of it, but you do have guys that did play at high levels, some of us that played professionally, some guys that were just awesome in high school and just life took them in a different path, and now they're able to get back on the field. It's a good time, man. I mean, anytime you can put helmet and shoulder pads on and play a kid's game, man, for fun. It's great.
You were a place kicker?
Yeah. And a long snapper. Yeah, a long snapper. That's it.
No, that makes sense. Anybody buy that? And Tunde, it truly is an expert, and he's so well-spoken when it comes down to health and wellness and beyond. And so, a couple things I wanted to jump in today. I wanted to really harp on this connection between mental wellness and nutrition, right? There's an undeniable connection here. And when we were off camera right before we got on here, you started going into your spiel. And I want you to hit the reset there, and I want you to go back into that spiel.
For sure. Nutrition and fitness is something that I'm really passionate about for obvious reasons. Obviously, being a trainer, that is something that I drive with my clients. That is something that I drive with, people that I'm just giving general fitness information to. And it's honestly the biggest cog in fitness itself. It's where a lot of people miss. A lot of people don't mind going to the gym, Dustin. A lot of people don't mind trying something new. But then when it comes to the nutritional discipline, that's where we all lack. And so when you're saying, let's tie it to mental health, it doesn't even need to be tied. Even for the guys like us that work out all the time, we still have that little bit of struggle with tying that nutrition in.
Absolutely.
And we're talking, like you said before off camera, when it comes to mental health, it's really almost like I was stating earlier, honestly, like an addiction. You'll get folks, and I know you work with a lot of the wonderful people at GSI.
Yeah, let's go.
you know, and a couple of the people that you plugged me in with through GSI, it was kind of the same deal. You talk to them about everything. These are my goals. This is what I want to do. They get excited. And then you're like, well, what's your nutrition like? And it's almost a physical, like, well, you know, and they kind of get into that moment of their realizing like that's where I fall off. But that's everybody. You know, you'll get a guy who's working a physical construction job. You know what I mean? And he goes home and he's tired and he you know, he's had a long day, and of course he's going to want something that's going to fill him up, make him feel comfortable, and so he can decompress. You know, the problem with it is a lot of those foods are the ones that are the unhealthiest for us.
Damn right.
You know, the greasy foods, the high starch foods that put us in carb comas when we're done. And in that moment, it feels great. It's like a fix. It's a drug. You're like,
yeah.
Oh man, those mashed potatoes were so good. That donut was so good. Oh, that beer that I just washed it down with just cleansed my soul. And it's good for that 30 minutes after. And then you just feel like complete
awful
wreck afterwards.
This is where we talk about changing your relationship with food. Now, listen, I still see pizza and I get happy thoughts. But for the most part, when I make eye contact with a crappy food, what I actually see is a declined mood, a decrease in performance, dragging,
Yes.
An altered mental state that does not have me, you know, at my best. That's what I see when I see a pack of Skittles.
Right.
And that is changing your relationship with food. So let's say somebody is in this cycle, right? Okay. They're doing exactly what you're talking about. They're doing the comfort food thing. They're doing the quick and easy convenience thing because they're dead on their feet at the end of the day. Right. How do you shake it?
So something you just said was very interesting. You said that when you see these foods that we know aren't healthy for us, you think about, a decrease in performance. It's going to make me sluggish and I'm not going to start, the next part of my day the way I want. That is what I call a big picture perspective. A lot of my friends, a lot of my clients, if you're around me for any duration of time, you're going to probably hear me use this example because it's something that I've added into my, adult life and in every decision that I make. And what it is what you're doing, Dustin, is you're doing this. You're taking the view of these Skittles, this pizza, this donut, and you're doing this. You're going, cool. Okay, if this is it. If it's going to taste good, it's going to feel great. But what about everything else? And that's where you'll see decreased performance. Taking steps backwards in my fitness goals, sluggish behavior. A lot of folks, they're not breaking the cycle because they're thinking in the moment. They're thinking, it's just one donut. Well, I ate healthy all day. They're looking at the right now and not scaling back and looking at the big picture.
What a society of indulgence we live in. It's literally, if you're the person in the group who chooses not to indulge, you show some self-help skills, yeah. and you say, I'm going to do the salad, I'm going to skip dessert or whatever. People are looking at you sideways. Yeah. People are fish-eyeing you, right? They're like, dude, let yourself have at every juncture, it's like, just let yourself indulge. Like, no. Yeah. We don't grow when we just give in all the time.
Does that surprise you, though? In anything that we do in our lives growing up, the person that's always righteous or with high integrity, those are the people that are generally ostracized in anything. So
some of them are obnoxious.
Right. And if you're that person that's like, well, you can eat your cake, I'm going to have my celery sticks. Now you're putting yourself in that demographic. Right. But when I pull up sometimes and I get invited to dinner and people see that I just get something small, most of my close friends know, well, Tune probably ate before he came here. And that's what I'll do. I'll just eat one of my meal preps or something just so I don't go crazy. Yeah. And my friends, it's been so regimented. They're not like, there you go again being healthy.
That, by the way, great strategy. Like, I want to say know yourself, but really it's most human beings, right? When my blood sugar drops, I'm going to inhale something bad.
For sure.
I'm just going to eat through whatever bag or whatever I can get my hands on. But if I know, hey, you're getting really hungry, you're about to be around some bad food, eat a freaking 100-calorie pack of almonds, anything.
Yeah.
Healthy fats are going to keep you satiated, keep you full, and all of a sudden you don't have that same fight. It's not the same fight. Yeah. That's a great point, and it's a great strategy.
Essentially, it's just like anything else, it's preparation, and that goes back to that big picture type of thing. When I know, cool, Dustin wants me to roll out with him Friday night. We're going to go grab something to eat. I know that on Tuesday. So I scale out and I say, all right, cool. If I'm going to kick it with Dustin, one or two things got to happen. I'm either going to put myself in a caloric deficit to handle.
Or I'm just going to tell him straight up, I don't do cocaine anymore. Right. One of the two.
But yeah, you get what I mean.
That shit.
Yeah. It's all about preparation, man.
Yeah. No, I'm with it, man. So, a couple... go-to strategies for people who are recognizing, okay, hey, I buy in that there is a direct correlation between what I eat and my mental state, right? And I want better for myself, which is going to be the embetterment of my, my family, my loved ones, everybody around me. I want everyone to get the best me and benefit from that. Where do they start? What are the strategies to start with today to kind of hit the reset, get back to a better baseline, and have some fight, right? Because a lot of people feel like they don't have resolve, which, by the way, stop freaking beating yourself up. It's so stupid, right? You think everything in the world is based on motivation. You're not motivated 100% of the time. Neither is Tunde. Neither am I. Nobody is. And it's such a trap to punish yourself, every time that you fail, and then it just becomes cyclical. And then what do? We go back with the same damn strategy, and we try it again, and then we're surprised where's a different outcome.
It's a perpetuating cycle. As far as strategies, the first thing is what you just did, having that reckoning, that moment, like, man, every time I eat so and so, or I go this place or that place, I don't feel great, and so once you have that epiphany, or once you realize that whatever your regimented eating habits are taking you further away from your fitness goals or making you feel a certain way, that's when you've kind of got to change. It's like, hey, every time I watch this movie, I feel sad. I don't like how I feel when I watch this movie or watch this show. The first thing you do is you stop watching it. Or if there's a person at your job that every time I sit by this person and have lunch with them, the rest of my day is wrecked because they're miserable. I don't want to be around this.
That was me when I watched Major League 3.
That was a pretty bad movie.
It's cool that you put Omar Epps in for Wesley in part 2.
Is it though? Is it cool?
It flew. It flew. It wasn't a terrible movie. And then they did this Back to the Minor shit where apparently Tom Berenger needed a paycheck worse than anybody has ever needed a paycheck.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't have a strategy for that. But so like the first thing is recognizing. And then at that point, the thing that I push my clients towards is, let's find foods that comfort you, that are healthier. And it doesn't have to be a complete overhaul. You know what I mean? If we can start off 50%, cool, you like your chocolate cake. All right, cool. Let's eat it earlier in the day so we know we can burn it off. What else can we put in there? Start with setting smaller parameters and just seeing the progress. It's like, hey, Stacy, since we've stopped eating the chocolate cake at 8 o'clock, moved it earlier in your day, and you've added some healthier snacks, how do you feel? Well, I do feel a little bit lighter, and I still feel... So they're seeing the result. A lot of times with human nature, we want immediate gratification, and it's hard to see, it's hard to get. But if you can just sell someone on, or not sell someone, if you can sell yourself on taking the chance on just 50%, moving something, adding something different, and seeing the little bit of result there, a lot of times that's enough to get people to buy in and really start to move forward, towards getting that goal of feeling better, more, healthier mentally. I
feel like you're pitching softballs right now, because it sets me up very well to say, this is not an all or nothing proposition. Like, I don't know where that thought and that sentiment came from. And you know
where it came from. I mean, look at it. Media.
Oh, sure.
So, social media, you see people, they look perfect. And when we post on social media, we post our meals, our hundreds of meals that we prep, knowing good and well nobody's making 100 meals a week to eat. And so people that aren't about the life like us, they see this social conform and they think that's too much. They're like, there's no way I can do that. I don't have time for that. I'm not eating chicken every day. I'm not just going to eat rice. And so they get further and further away from it.
Yeah.
Really what it comes down to, and this is another term I use with a lot of my clients, is I tell them, I'm not going to put you on a diet. And that's when you see them kind of, really, what we are going to do is become more health conscious. When you become more health conscious, that's when you realize, like, again, the chocolate cake reference, like eating chocolate cake at 8 o'clock is terrible, because at the end of your day, you're going to put your kids to sleep. You're going to sit down and watch a Lifetime movie and fall asleep. You're not burning that off. So instead of taking your chocolate cake away from you, let's move it earlier in your day during lunch. That way you go through the rest of your work day burning it. You come and see me in the evening. We get a good workout in. I kick your butt. You burn the rest of it off. And then just for the 4 hours that you're home, we got to be health conscious. That now shows them, hey, I'm not completely overhauling my life and or losing the things that I love, and I'm working towards my goal.
Yeah. And there's such a synergy when you start having, I'm not going to say when you start a workout routine, when you start having activity in your day. You might not want to go to the gym. You might not be a workout person.
Right.
You might like mountain biking, going for a walk, whatever it is. But there's such a synergy when you start being more active, because the human body was not made to sit down. No. I mean, it's made to move. You start being more active. It kind of makes you want to eat a little better. makes you want to get some sleep, and it starts making you make the neural connection that if I eat better and I sleep right, I recover well.
Yeah.
My workouts are better, my mood's better, my overall energy's better. I just feel like people who kind of put themselves out there to some healthy things in a routine, they start making those connections.
Yeah. I mean, it's human nature. Like, as you get healthier, you start to be able to perform better in your workouts more efficiently, more effectively, and you want to maintain that. It's like putting better fuel in your car. And this is why I say, if you can get folks to buy into the 50% model or even a 40% model where they just see a small boost in performance or mental health, they will want more of that. Like, nobody's going to turn down, man, I felt great when I did that. I'm never going to do that again.
Tell me more about that model. When you say the 50% model, what do you mean?
Right. And so it's just something that I use with my clients where I say, if we can just get you to buy in 50%. And so a lot of times, I'll give you an example. So you're my new client, Dustin. First thing I say, hey man, look, I need you to keep a food log for me. Jot down everything that you eat for the next 3 or 4 days. Bring it in. Don't cheat. If you tell me you're eating leaves and drinking water, I know that you're going to lie because we didn't get here doing that. But just whatever you eat, I don't need calories. Just a turkey sandwich, Coke, and a bag of chips. A steak, mashed potatoes, green beans, and a beer. Like, whatever you eat, just write it down. And we'll sit down and we say, all right, man, we're going to make adjustments to 50% of these things, 50% of the things that are bad. And that adjustment could be removing it. It could just be pushing it to a different part of your day.
Portion control,
cutting it in half.
Yep.
And just 50%. And just doing that, Dustin.
Massive.
Massive. You're going to see a result. But mentally what that does for people, they still see the things they love on their food log. They still get to enjoy some of those things, but they don't realize how big of an impact it's going to make because of how bad those things are for their body.
You know what? I want to harp on the water thing for a minute and just wear that one out before I move on. Huge extra credit. Drink 1 liter of water in the morning before you consume anything else. I'll allow a little apple cider vinegar in the mix if you want to, but you got to think about it. Hopefully you just slept for 7.5, 8 hours. You're naturally dehydrated.
Sure.
Right? And you talk about starting the car in the right capacity to let that car warm up and get that car ready to perform. So that's my next one. I'll put water down for a little bit. I'll get some other stuff. I feel it was necessary.
No, I think that's a great one. I tell folks a lot of times, like, you have to understand that when you sleep, like you said, not only are you dehydrated, but your muscles are hungry because your stomach will growl when you want something to eat, but your muscles don't really do anything. They're just starved, protein deficient, which will drag me or play me right into what I was going to bring up, which is get high protein meal in the morning.
Okay.
And I say that because, a lot of times with my female clients, they're apprehensive to that because they don't want to be big. They don't want to be bulky, but they fail to realize sometimes that holding on to that muscle tissue was what's going to keep our metabolism up. This snatched, lean look that we want, it's going to require muscle to do that. Sure. And so an efficient muscle. So getting that high protein in, just like when you eat breakfast in the morning and you're like, wow, I feel good. That protein does the same thing for your muscles. They may not tell you, they may not relax or growl or anything like that, but they are certainly happy when they get an infusion of protein in the morning.
I'm with it. This is going to piggyback on our earlier conversation, but the healthy fats, the nuts, seeds, hummus, chia seed, flaxseed, getting the healthy fats at a point in your day that's going to keep you from going off the deep end. Huge. And that, you said it earlier, keeping snacks readily available. In my car, I keep the emergency almond packs.
Yeah.
I know they're there. And the protein bars. Yeah. Those are the two things that, you can pretty much always find in my car.
Yeah.
All right, let's get another round or two in. What you got?
I will say this. This is something that may not be completely applicable to everybody, but people who are trying to eat more frequently, okay? This is something that I've been, I won't say experimenting, but I've been driving with a lot of my clients where it fits, is instead of trying to force 5 full meals down or 6, whatever your split is, introduce 2 liquid meals.
Okay. A little easier on the system.
A lot more, applicable to your day.
Yep.
Because I get it. The guys like us, we make our own schedule. True. We can carry the backpacks and the meals and things like that. But there are folks that are in an office. There are folks that are, on the road. Having those liquid meals on hand is a lot like that protein shake in the sense that it's a quick hit. You can get ones that are, high protein, high calories. So that way you are able to hit your numbers or your macros, whatever you're tracking.
Yeah.
And again, mentally, it doesn't make you feel like, God, all I'm doing is eating. Every time I turn around, I'm eating. You get that meal in, you constitute as a meal. So, have your breakfast, have your liquid meal, have your lunch, have your liquid meal, have your dinner, and then go to sleep and maybe have a snack. And now you've cleared 5 or 6 meals without breaking your back or over, doing it with the stomach.
Yeah. A lot of people who are experts in the area of intermittent fasting, they'll rely on this heavily. You know, a lot of them will say, break your fast with a pea-based protein, right? Because it's a way to ease your body in.
Yes.
You don't want to fast for 16, 18 hours and then hit your body with something that it's got to liquefy and break down and work its ass off to digest.
Right.
So it's the same principle. Then eat a big meal 45 to an hour and a half later.
Yep.
And then in between again, give your body a break.
Yes.
You know, throw that Evolve shake or that Orgain shake in, pair it with, you know, a frickin' apple, something that we know is nutrient dense. You know, obviously that's not calorically dense. So depending on your goals, like you said, we need to figure out what to plug in there. But I think that's great advice. So I think that's a great segue to why are people so bad with the resiliency? Why do we get derailed and then we just can't seem to recover? And, you know, for our people out there, our GSI people, it's like we've got some natural hindrances, right? We're traveling a lot, working hard. You get really tired, can't stop to eat maybe like we'd like to all the time. What is it that makes us so easy to get into a valley and really not want to poke our head out?
I think it comes back into that immediate gratification deal. I think it's one of those things where if every time we worked out, every muscle we wanted to show, our waistline got tapered, the fat dissipated, and if we woke up the next day and it was right back to where we wanted, we'd make sure that every day that we went to the gym to suck it back in. But because there is a process that everybody's body changes differently at different rates, at different clips, everybody's output is different. That's another thing people forget. Like, your output cardiovascularly probably is better than my output. Now, if we were doing something strength-wise, mine may be better.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. It'll be close. But people often overlook things like output. So it all ties into why the resiliency wavers. It's because of the immediate gratification, because people they're like, man, I was doing so good for so long. Then all of a sudden I hit a plateau and life got busy. You know, it's hard to come back versus like a medication. Like if you look at somebody who, let's say has hypertension or low blood sugar, they know like, oh my God, if I don't get my medicine, I fly off the handle. So a lot of times they don't play around with, can't take my medicine and I'm too busy for that. They make sure that it happens, you know?
Yeah. How the hell do we move away from that? How do we set up a system to police ourselves? We're going to hit those valleys. We're going to find ourselves to those valleys. There's just too many acute variables to control for. It's almost like saying never have a bad thought. Look, the thought's going to come. Are you going to dwell on that thought? Or are you going to move to something positive?
I'm going to say this at the expense of everyone cutting the video off right here and there. Okay, it really comes down to self-accountability. If we don't understand and or adhere to self-checking or self-accountability, we will never overcome the resiliency. And again, I'll use me and you as examples because I've known you for over a decade and I know that you're about the life. Whenever you go through a period of time, Dustin, where you can't get to the gym or your schedule legitimately gets hectic and you can't even work out at the clip that you want.
Sure.
You feel guilty. You feel bad. And I can tell when you pull up at Willow sometimes and you just, hey T, and you get to the back. I know you probably haven't worked out in 3 or 4 days. So I'm like, wow, he misses it. He needs it. You have that self-accountability. You know, I'm the same way. You know, if I go more than 2 days, I'm like a crackhead. I'm scratching my neck. I look like Tyrone Biggums.
Yeah.
It's because I have that self-accountability. So what folks have got to do is they've got to understand that, you know, being health conscious, not necessarily on diet, being health conscious, working out, you know, it's got to be a part of their fabric. It's no different than if you have children and your kids, you know, they've got to do their homework. You're going to take your kids to school. You're going to pick them up for daycare. These are things that no matter what happens in life, you're going to make sure that they happen. You're not going to just, I got busy. I'm not going to take the kids to school today.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm not going to pick them up. Your nutrition and your health has to be on the same plane as far as accountability for those things. You know, and the same way, I'll use kids as a reference again. If your kid's like, Mom, I'm going to get 50% this marking period. I'm just going to put 50% in. I went 100% last marking period, so I'm going to chill out. You jumped their shit. You'd be like, no, what are you talking about? No, you have to. This is school. You need to get educated.
Yeah.
So why do we accept that with our bodies? There's no cookie cutter way for this. And if there was, we'd have one book, one holy grail that we just prescribe to everybody, and we'd all be looking like you.
Berenstein Bears, clean your room.
Right,
Clean your fucking room.
Yeah. You know, but it's not, and everybody's process will be different. But I think as a whole, it's the same kind of structure. for me or the people that I work with, it always goes back to that self-check, that self-evaluation, because even if you have it right now, Dustin, 2 or 3 weeks from now, it may not be right for 2 or 3 weeks from now. Like, you could be killing it and not realizing, like, man, I'm only sleeping 6 hours now because I've been trying to be so much more efficient than everywhere else. You could be sleeping great. Now you're sleeping into when your nutrition begins, so your nutrition is falling off. So you've got to continuously, like, self-evaluate, self-check. It's like, cool, here are my numbers, here are my goals. This is what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and just review it every once in a while. It's no different than an appraisal for work or a report card for a marking period. Check yourself out. If you're not checking your progress, you will have no way of knowing if anything has faltered, if anything has gone bad.
Yes.
You know, you get your car inspected annually, or you're supposed to be, unless you're like me and you know a guy that'll give you a sticker.
Right.
You know, but it's for that reason that you do it, so that way you can see any holes in your game, any deficiencies, any chinks in your armor. And it's not to derail you, but it's to make that adjustment. It's like, man, you know what? I did fall short of my calories last week because I was doing X, Y, and Z. How can I fix that? You know, I did go to sleep late last week because my kid had so-and-so practice. I got to fix that this week. You know,
Yeah.
It's continuous. It's a continuous process. There's nothing, and I say this to people I work with, there's nothing that I can tell you right now that is going to be gospel moving forward. It's an ebb and flow. It's a consistent, constantly changing. Everything is gray matter. You know, we're going through this, but as long as the trajectory that we're trending is this way and we're figuring things out.
For people want the gratification in the now, and we don't want to just push that and kind of have the smoke and mirrors, like the gym signs that they just want to get you in the gym at all costs. They don't really care if you hit the outcomes. They're throwing the shiny stuff in front of you. But let's go back on our word just a little bit.
Okay.
Tell our people, if they do want relatively quick gratification, right? What can they do in the next 24 hours? You're somebody out there that currently doesn't do a lot of what we're talking about.
I'm not going to fall on my sword and say, hey, if you drink a gallon of water a day, you're going to immediately feel better, because everybody's body's different. Sure. I know that. I mean, I carry a little Onyx with me everywhere I go, because I know that when I don't get my gallon, my body feels different. But I won't say that as a blanket statement. But I will say this. If someone's looking for 100% gratification and they're not doing anything right now, take one of the things that we talked about, whether it's adopting a more physical lifestyle, 50%, changing 50% of what you're putting in your body, or move your unhealthy stuff forward in your day, so that way you have more time to burn it off.
Cake for breakfast.
Right. You know, spike your glycogen levels. We can brand it however you want. You know, if you're able to do one of those things, okay, one time, you are 100% better than you were before you watched this podcast.
I love it.
There is your immediate gratification. Like, you've put 100% max effort into doing something 100% to change your life.
That makes you an OGF athlete.
Right.
You're a cheap bastard because you haven't bought the shirt, but you're still an OGF athlete.
Yeah, and so that's where the gratification comes from. If you're able to say, man, I watched Dustin's podcast, it was dope. That's a great idea. I'm going to start incorporating, nutrition bars in my lifestyle for the next week. And you do it.
One change.
Are you going to look like Popeye the Sailor Man afterwards? Maybe not, but you've now made a change, committed to it, and have added 100% of something new to your tool belt. So that's your gratification, because before this podcast, you weren't really doing anything. And now you've taken something and you've added it into your regimen that's going to make you better. There's 100% gratification. The physical part of it will come when you add 2 or 3 of these tools and you do it for a duration and you commit to it. There's the physical, but gratification isn't always physical. It's mental sometimes. It's emotional sometimes. I've had a client, we just get the paperwork done and they're in tears. And I'm like, why are you crying? And it's like, I've been wanting to do this for so long and I've finally done it. And they're crying because they've committed to it. That is gratification.
Yeah, no doubt.
It doesn't change your composition. You won't be taking selfies with your leg on the sink or anything like that, but it is gratification. You know what I mean? So you got to look at the word for what it is. And that's what I'll tell anybody watching this podcast is just, there was a lot of good information here. Take whatever parts of it is applicable to your life, incorporate it, try it, give it a shot, for a week, just do any one of these things. And knowing that you were able to commit to it for one whole week, you should feel gratified, because to this point, there may not have been anything that you're able to commit to for a week or change health-wise, and you're doing it now. That is your gratification.
Yeah. Hey, listen, nothing in this world is 100% for sure. But if you drink a little more water, if you get a little more sleep, if you tap into some of these things Tunde's talking about, you are going to feel that gratification. The only maybe we're left with is Tunde might be stronger than me. He fucking might be. And that's a capital M. All right? I don't want anybody out there drawing conclusions just based off of looks. All right? Do not watch his Instagram channel either, by the way. No. Yeah. Hey, this is a great time to put Tunde's Instagram up on the screen. You guys follow Tunde. Some really cool content here. Big thanks to Tunde. Hopefully he's back in the house soon. And appreciate everybody out there watching. One small change this week.
That's it.
You're going to be on the right track. I think it's pretty obvious we all had a really good time here. Let's do it again soon. Click on the icon over here and subscribe to GSI Lifestyle's YouTube channel. Or check out the next video on deck over here.